All right, joining us today on Pirate Radio Live, back once again, former Pirate quarterback and also coach the Pirates as well. Paul Troth joining us. Paul, great to have you back on, man. How you doing today?
Oh man, trying to beat the summer heat up here in Northern Virginia. We're in a heat wave. I don't know what it's like in Greenville, but it's pretty hot.
It is toasty, definitely toasty here as well. And Paul playing dad, the role of dad, which he plays that role every day. But as we talk to him today, as he's got the kids with him, so Paul, we there they are. Paul, yeah, we've been reaching out to former teammates, coaches, friends, people that covered Chris Johnson this week, and we all saw on Monday him on Good Morning America, and had heard like Sunday night that there might be some health related news he was going to talk about with Michael Strahan. Had no idea how much that had progressed and how much he had regressed. Were you shocked when you saw that Monday when he was on Good Morning
Yeah,
America?
I mean, I was just shocked that. Well, kudos to him and his family for keeping things private. Being a celebrity, and it, obviously we find out it happened about 9 months ago with the diagnosis. But I know with our experience with Coach LeClaire, it seemed a little bit slower in our experience with that as Pirates, but that was the initial shock, and then the immediate just sadness. But I got over my sadness by hearing him speak. I was amazed at how he was communicating his his belief through all of this, um, and just to see him in a perspective of doing everything that he can and fighting as hard as he can to go attack this thing and be an imprint on others that are affected by it, and also be a positive just source of strength for his family. That was what was encouraging in the times of just sorrow watching it.
Paul Troth joining us. Paul, I believe you were at ECU Chris's last 2 years, I think. So we saw flashes of him as a freshman. We saw him play a little, kind of go to receiver a little bit, and then find his home back at running back. And I've talked a lot this week about the jump from '06 to '07. He was already a
Yeah,
explosive player, dynamic player, but he has talked about, and we've heard his coaches as well talk about how much work he put in that particular offseason, and also maybe some heart-to-heart conversations with Skip Holtz in there as well.
yeah,
But how about the way he just took it to an entirely different level that 2007?
yeah. I remember my first year there was '06, and I remember being in the preseason staff meeting, and the big like bomb drop by Coach Holtz was that they wanted to move Chris around. Those were in the times of Reggie Bush, and they really wanted to kind of tailor certain formations and move him around. He was also battling. I mean, people forget, like, we never knew who our starting running back was going to be week to week. Um, that year, I know we had Brandon Fractious, and Dominique Lindsay was a bulldozer, and so Chris. We went up to Navy. We lost a heartbreaker at UAB, and that year we were just piecemealing it together in regards to, we had all this talent, and we never really had an identity. James Pinkney was the quarterback, and we kind of ebbed and flowed around him. Um, and I think that Chris had a lot to do with his maturity, not as a human, but as a football player. And at the end of the day, he bet on himself. And I know in that offseason, talks with Greg Golden, or I'm sorry, Mike Golden, every time he would talk about the players in the summer, CJ's name would be coming up. And I think that he just decided that he wanted to be great, and he had a unique talent. I mean, he's the fastest person I've ever seen on a football field. But he gained weight. He got his pad level lower. And we come out the next year, and at Virginia Tech, I still remember, like, first touchdown is just him just running over a linebacker on the goal line. Like we never had him on goal line sets. It was always Dominique, and I think that he took a source of pride. We had a lot of good running backs in Conference USA. Matt Forte was like,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the best stories was we had Tulane coming to town, and Matt Forte was getting a lot of publicity. Uh, Chris had done a ton of things on special teams and had that big game against Carolina, and it was like I was like I didn't get a chance to be in the running back room, but every time I was like, "You ready?" And he's like, "Oh, this is my game." And I think that he actually made a bet with Coach Hud, and basically, I don't know what the bet entailed, but I think that it entailed like, I'm going to rush for more. We're going to win the game. I'm going to settle this debate. I'm the top running back, not only in the conference, but one of the top running backs in the country. And he walked after that game. I believe it was a night game. He walked straight up to Hud's room in full pads and collected whatever they bet on, and it was a great joy for Coach Hud. And the relationships that Chris had were very unique. He didn't let a lot of people in. It's interesting. Like I want to say one of the closest coaches he had was Coach Hudson. They meshed well. I think Coach Hudson found a way to challenge him personally and on the football field. And it was a great year. And then going to Hawaii, I mean, that was just icing on the cake. To see his performance, and we never thought we were out of a game. We always thought we were in a game because we had number 5 in the backfield, and he would just make things right.
I love you telling that story because Greg Hudson tells the stories, and I'm pretty sure 1 out of every 10 is BS. But but that was true. He told us how he would tape the pictures and the stats of Forte. Was Kevin Smith around that time with UCF,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
D'Angelo
yeah.
Williams, but like all the great running backs, and would put those on Chris's locker and stuff. And he said for the Forte one, he said something like, "Who's the best running back?" And he said that Chris Johnson, after that game, said I am and signed it, and Hud still has like that piece of paper or whatever. But it's nice to have somebody verify the tall tales of
Yeah,
Greg Hudson. But
yeah,
no, that's great. And like you said, like as he was the best player at '07, obviously, but was not necessarily a media darling. He wouldn't give
right.
us too much. But I have heard from Jason Halter and Coach Hud, and now yourself, and we'll talk to Brandon Simmons coming up at 5, who was the beefy back to
Right.
CJ Speed there at the end of his career. But
Well, and the
apparently
other
he had a
thing,
different personality behind the scenes.
yeah, and another thing is that, you know, I think a lot of people are coaches in general are guilty of just, typecasting players as soon as they, see what they have, and the room for growth. And the the number one thing was, I don't know if you remember, we went through like 3 quarterbacks that year, and Coach Fitch was our OC. And the number one thing for a running back, other than taking care of the ball, is pass protections. And I know that of all the running backs that they trusted, Coach Shank and Coach Fitch, it was CJ, because he understood protections. He understood how to set a screen up. I mean, there's just the football knowledge that he just continued to grow. And I think that whether it was he put distractions aside, he realized what he was special, and he was a great football player. He wasn't just a great running back. I think people think, oh, he's fast and he can return kicks, but a great football player, protects in the passing game, understands scheme. That was the biggest jump that I saw, just from behind the scenes, being a GA on that staff.
And Paul, that's interesting because I never thought he would be a great pro. Like I thought he'd be a good running back, but I just saw the speed and I thought, well,
Right.
everybody's fast in the NFL. I know they're not that fast, but You saying all those things, helps explain. Plus the work and the effort he put in explains why he was such a great pro running back.
Well, I think, I can give you. I don't have a ton of stories, but that one about HUD and, you know, Skip. There were times we would have these like Sunday night practices. We switched up our schedules where we were like shells, well, we were in uppers, and then they would get Monday off, and it was late in the season, and I can't remember if it was after a loss or whatever, but it was one of those practices where Skip was trying to like, you know, be a little bit tougher and try to like, get a little 1v1. And I, I just remember it was dragging on and it was a team period and there was nothing really going on. And I think what says something special about CJ was like, not many athletes have the ability to like turn it on and off. And you could tell when he got frustrated. So this practice is dragging on, and at any point you just want a big play to be made. So I think Coach Holtz is like, all right, defense wins or offense wins. We're out of here, whatever. So we give them like a mid zone play. And I'm back then I'm behind the play, charting plays, making sure everything's written down. And there's not a big gap. I mean, maybe, the size of a lineman. Well, he splits that. And then you see, the linebackers, they got the angle on him. He splits that, and they're in like quarters coverage, and the safeties are coming downhill, and he literally, it was like a movie. These two guys move coming in, and he just splits them again. And he's one of the only guys that I've ever seen be able to cut off his inside foot and not lose speed. And it was just, he's like Sonic the Hedgehog, man. But he's and he pretty much was like, practice is over. Okay, like I'm taking this to the house. Practice is over. We win. And he didn't talk a lot, but his actions they spoke volumes. And our team took on the character of Chris Johnson, which I think that for any player, that's a huge compliment. Because we're pirates, man. We don't get the respect. We're gonna earn our respect. And he made everybody take notice that year, and it was a joy to be around.
So many great plays. We've talked a lot about that because the North Carolina game is one of my all-time favorite games, just with the amount of big plays and the great players with Tate and Nix on the Tar Heel side, and CJ making huge plays. But the pass he took, and I asked Jay Sonhalter about it yesterday. What's it like blocking for a guy as fast as Chris Johnson? Because on that catch and run he had, it was almost like he outran his blockers, outran the Tar Heels, linebackers, secondary, and was gliding, basically. Didn't even look like he was running fast. But that's a special guy that can make it look easy like that.
I love that play. That play is, if you go back and watch the video of it, as he's coming into the end zone, they fire the cannon. So there's just like this smoke right as he gets in the end zone. And, it was just laying the hammer down. And I want to say that was like Patrick Pinckney's first start, and he gets to throw a screen pass for 80 yards, and Chris made him look really good that day.
Oh yeah, quarterbacks love that, right, Paul?
Oh, man, back in my day, Art Brown made me look good so many times, and that was another thing. Like Chris can catch, and just stressing the defense, and it goes back to just being a football player. He's not just a running back, and he's a football player, and I'm happy that we get to talk about him, and I hope that everybody that's around him, continues to appreciate just for the man that he is, and appreciate the time that they have left with him. But that young man has done a lot of growing up in his life, and Coach Holtz has a lot to do with that. Coach Junior Smith, Coach Hudson, the staff really challenged him, and it's just we all feel for Chris, but it's tough, man. It's really tough.
Paul, while I got you here, man, we talk about 2015 a lot because a couple weekends ago, Kurt Benkert, posted, I still love East Carolina, and not to rehash that old story, but like he gets hurt, the Pirates are scrambling. They go to Blake Kemp, who's a like JUCO guy, and James
Yeah.
Summers, who was a utility guy, and try to piece it together. We've talked a lot about 2007, but man, the turmoil at QB there. So you had Rob Cass get in trouble right before the season started, literally right before the season, right?
Yeah.
And then you
Yep.
go to Brett Clay at quarterback. Eventually, we
Yeah.
see a little Pinckney, but also some young guy wearing 17, Dwayne Harris, is taking direct snaps in Blacksburg
Yeah.
in week one.
That
And
was
what was that
that was
preparing for that like?
well that was just Coach Holt's getting to the point of frustration of not having a guy at the QB1 spot, and I talk about another practice. There was one practice. This was Dwayne's true freshman year. Um, they're like, get in at running back, and he gets in at running back, and Dwayne, he's got the big legs, and he was another guy who he's just like, you are going to play me. I don't know where you're going to put me at, but you're going to find a home for me.
Yeah.
And I just that was a year where Dwayne Harris' story is nobody can outthrow Dwayne Harris. Okay, we go to Memphis and we have our Friday night practice, and Coach Holtz lets us play sandlot football. The kids are all, and I swear to you, I thought David Garrard was the strongest arm guy I've ever seen. Dwayne Harris, legit 80-yard bombs, just throwing it up, and it was a credit to the coaching staff because Coach Holtz knew what he had, but he had to piecemeal some things together. And I mean, every week we didn't know who the starter was going to be, and those guys handled it well. Coach Fitch, he was handling that well, but the things that we hung our hat on were that great defense, Chris Johnson, and then getting the ball in space to Dwayne, and it was fun. It was so fun to be around. That's like one of my favorite football seasons I've ever had because we go to Hawaii and we beat Boise, and it was icing on the cake, and it was amazing.
Well, was '07 the game at UTEP as well, or was
Yeah.
that? Yeah,
That was Rob Cass comes in and throws a
Rob
Hail
Cass,
Mary.
the only laser Hail Mary I've ever seen in football,
Yep.
through a missile.
Yep. And the play before that, to get us down there to get to overtime, we were on 4th and 1, and Coach Fitch called like a play action pop pass, and it was just all those coaches. They really they didn't play by the data. They knew what they had, and they weren't afraid to gamble. And it was a great experience. I can't tell you how awesome that year was.
Well, Paul, man, we appreciate you coming on and talking about CJ2K a little bit, and also some of your memories. Real quick, tell everybody what you're up to, working with QBs, and what you're doing in the football world.
We had our finals out of California for Elite 11 finals, and I worked that and saw the next phase of quarterbacks. And now the difference is every kid that's out there has like $3 million, $4 million NILs, and yeah, I mean, it's a different world, man. I mean, there's some really talented players coming out of there, and I always say, like, there's commitment season and there's decommitment season, and that'll be coming upon us come October and November because coaches fired or NIL deals are wanting to be renegotiated. But it's a great experience to try to get them to understand at the end of the day, you gotta perform. You got to be at a place where you can be the CEO of an organization. It's very much more of a professional atmosphere now. And so that's always a great experience. And then just up here training quarterbacks in the DMV, and my daughters are all playing youth sports. Like my 2 oldest got a Vegas tournament, so I got put on that plane flight. So I'm going to go out there and do that. And but yeah, just being dad and keeping up with the Pirates, and just trying to raise them right, and maybe one will go to to ECU one day. We'll see.
That'd be great, Paul. Man, I always enjoy talking with you. Let's
Yeah.
talk this fall. Talk some football when games get rolling. But have a good summer,
Yeah,
man, and we'll catch
for
up with you
sure.
down the road.
Yeah. All right, brother. God bless. Go Pirates.